So, throughout the year of 2023, I had the joy, pleasure, and slightly frustrating journey of playing through the No More Heroes series. And yes, I play TSA. What I love about the franchise is just how much it screams it's a video game, while surprisingly finding that fine line of what can be taken seriously. That mainly comes from the narrative and characters of each game. The whole thing each time is about people killing each other left and right from their own deranged, twisted way of life, but then at the same time they sing, LARP, and write love letters to only name a few. And at the center of all of that is the most relatable protagonist there could be, Travis Touchdown. Fuckhead! I fucking love Travis. To really summarize my thoughts about him, he's just a dude. That's it. And it's outstanding. I could go into more depth about him specifically, but I will save that for his own potential video. The person I am here to talk about is one of my favorite characters in the whole series. They don't show up multiple times throughout the games, or even many times in the one game they're exclusive to. They exist for 10-15 minutes tops, that person being the second-ranked assassin of Desperate Struggle, the Hollow Queen herself, Alice Twilight.
Travis Touchdown, correct?
Without a doubt, No More Heroes excels in having some of the most memorable boss fights in video games. I specifically said memorable because, for better or for worse, you're not going to forget them whether you like it or not. Now, allow me to set the stage and build up towards Alice first though, so everything can make a bit more sense. The first installment was about Travis's adventure of aiming to be the #1 assassin, and from that gauntlet of killers, he surprisingly managed to do it. Took a victory shit and everything, but then something interesting happened between games. He was no longer #1, and it's not even really explained why. And yes, I know the behind the scenes reasons, because there wasn't supposed to be a sequel initially, blah 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 blah, Suda wasn't the lead writer, you don't need to tell me. Best I can come up with is that he got what he wanted more or less, and dipped. And that kind of sets the motion of what the main plot is for the sequel. Well, actually, if I backtrack a little bit, there's like this small animation showing some things that do happen prior, Travis getting the fame and glory, a statue even, foreshadowing of Bishop's death, and then Lovakov's actual death. Yeah, remember this guy? Yeah, that's what happens to him. Anyways, Travis is famous now. And that's what a lot of assassins and fighters have in common. They see Travis as this icon, a goal, a legend even. Let's put this in the viewpoint of someone who's now joining the UAA, which is now real and the ranked leaderboard means something. They join and a natural eventual question would be, so who's #1? Some bitch-ass dude named Jasper. But before him, there was this guy, within the span of a month, maybe even a couple of weeks, steamrolled his way to the top and then vanished. No one has seen him since. How did he do it? Who is this guy? Is he still alive? That's why a good number of assassins already know about Travis or want to meet him. The list varies as why they want to do so. The fitting theme of revenge, so characters like Lex Shake and Skelter Helter appear, weird admiration in the forms of Nathan Copeland and Kimmy Howell, even Destroy Man to a degree, who thought Travis was nothing but the coolest dude ever for slicing him in half. This even goes for allies as well, and why Shinobu acts the way she does. But from climbing the ladder once again, Travis meets someone who didn't fall into any of those categories. Someone who felt rather similar to a previous opponent from his last adventure. Alice. A woman who's somewhat angry, intrigued, and envious of Travis, which all stems around the question of how. How did he do it? Rise to the top so quickly and then leave without a trace. The whole exchange between these two is so chock full of details and interpretations about what means what. Everything about her is so fascinating. I don't even know where to begin. It's remarkably a rabbit hole that I stumbled upon. And gotcha. That's the first thing we'll focus on. Her name. Now, I think it's safe to say that when it comes to this name, a good number of people can associate it with the famous Lewis Carroll story, Alice in Wonderland. The story where a little girl falls down the rabbit hole and gets lost in Wonderland. This fits Alice due to how she describes the nature of the UAA. Once you're in, that's it. You're not getting out. And with it now being portrayed as a sick sport, your only option is to kill to survive. The more you kill, the higher your rank, but the harder it is to leave. Stuck in this backwards wonderland, which is probably more akin to American McGee's version, which you should play by the way. And then her last name, Twilight. Also suitable because of the time of day you fight her is during twilight, or more accurately sunset, right before the sun fully falls into dusk. That's when the fight takes place. What about where? I say it this way because I find it slightly symbolic to a level that the fight is on a rooftop of dirty apartments, while the final fight takes place in the tallest, cleanest building in Santa Destroy. Having this comparison can kind of tell you that no matter how hard Alice would try to get to number 1, it would almost seem like an impossible feat, given she really wanted that before meeting Travis. And then a fact I always forget about, the apartments are in Akashian Point. Now, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not going to pretend I know all the details about the Akashian Points, because they're brought up for the first couple of fights, stop for like 75% of the game, and then Alice has the last one. All I can really say is what the game somewhat tells you. Akashian Points are portals that lead to somewhere else, an area that's not really mapped or talked about in Santa Destroy. The only connection I can think of for Alice in this case is how she feels so disconnected the more she kills, the more lives she takes, the less she feels like a normal person. I've also heard the theory that instead of sending Travis to a new location that's outside of the map, this point sent him to a location that's known, but in the future, which kind of explains why there's a painting of him on the side of the building and why it's called the hero's face. Now, this is where the fun part begins, because even with all of that, and from not even talking about the boss fight itself still, Alice is already steps ahead of other enemies in this game. Now we're taking these steps into miles, and it all happens in a blink of an eye during the conversation with Travis. We see Alice burning photos, and during your first playthrough, especially after the 90 waves of goons, oh my god. Foot soldiers, not my favorite part for sure, you don't really pay attention to what she's burning, but through the power of pauses, close-ups, and data mining, it's pictures of Alice's family, a husband and child, and Margaret Moonlight? What the heck? So, fun fact, Alice is confirmed to be Margaret's sister. It's not outright said in game, but during an interview with Suda from 4Gamer. Alice and Margaret's last names were switched as well in their original designs. Given the backdrop for each lady, Suda had them switch. From that brief mention, this adds another layer to Alice, and to give further context, we gotta take a detour and at least talk about another fan favorite, Margaret. So, honestly, I was going to make a video dedicated to the whistling gothic Lolita, mainly about her oh-so-famous and catchy song, Philistine. However, I held back because I'm pretty sure the lyrics speak for themselves, and even though I just said that, there's one particular verse I want to quickly point out. I find it great that Margaret happens to be the 4th ranked assassin, you know, number 4 and the death relation superstition in Japan, along with her dual-wielding scythe she has to drive this point further. What I'm trying to get at is the concept of death. It's surprisingly a small theme or element that's throughout Desperate Struggle. You have Margaret, who pretends to be and is labeled the Grim Reaper. After her is Captain Vladimir, which, I mean, it isn't fully said, but the evidence is there to kind of give you the idea that he's a ghost. Dude can teleport, use satellite lasers, as all ghosts can, obviously, and when he, quote-unquote, died, it wasn't the blood splatter like everyone else. His body just faded away. And after him is Alice. For her, it's mainly her outlook on life by this point. Her mentality is dead. Alice is just done, crushed from her time with the UAA. Because of these photos, we can assume that she was relatively normal in the world No More Heroes. However, the way she describes herself, that can tell you that the call to kill was always there, and she couldn't escape it, which most likely led to her family being killed or her leaving her family. Take your pick. And this probably got worse with how Margaret is in the picture, literally. The UAA isn't just some random fight club anymore, it's now an official thing to the point where it even influences the youth and the reckless, which in a meta sense can perhaps explain why a good number of assassins are rather half-assed, because they were regular people at first and saw the UAA as an excuse and outlet to kill, while compared to the OGs in the first game, they were some true psychopaths. Now you just have people who are super impressionable. and have some sort of connection to how corrupt the entertainment industry is. And Margaret is probably one of those people who fell for all of that. And I mean, having your sister follow in your footsteps in the worst way imaginable, yeah, that doesn't do Alice any favors. So by the end of it, there's almost nothing left. She's hollow. Now, there's only two options left. Reach for the top, claim number one, and be done, or die. But lo and behold, the No More Hero himself, Travis Touchdown, gives the deep, powerful, and multi-layered answer of,
Don't be stupid. If you get tired of the battles, just fucking quit.
But due to Alice's thirst to kill, it's not so easy. It's rather strange for those who choose the way of the assassin. You could have boatloads of money, the biggest mansion, the coolest cars, the sexiest people around you. It's no paradise. We learned this pretty early on in the beginning of the series. Death metal and Travis's conversation is something that echoes throughout the whole franchise. If that isn't paradise, what is? Well, for assassins, death is. The most surefire way that you'll never have to worry about others killing you, or have the urge to kill someone. The taste of blood will vanish and you'll be at peace. And that's what Alice ultimately seeks when confronting Travis. Death is paradise. Now, finally, talking about the boss fight itself. Alice wields a weapon that wields other weapons, that being the Ashura 6. This backpack machine equips the user with multiple arms, and how Alice uses them is by having 6 beam katanas all at once, while having this extra arm, or I guess in this case leg. It carries her up into a higher position, mainly so she's out of enemy reach. However, she can either slam all the swords into the ground, or just throw them. But that's not her only method of fighting. When Alice does battle on the ground, she's quite fast and nimble, being able to flip around non-stop with that thing on her back and toss out quick attacks, and even use the other arm for more reach in a swinging motion. When seeing this in action, you probably think of two things. Mistral from Metal Gear Rising, who's rather similar to Alice. The parallels are there, but Mistral came afterwards, so yeah. But the point still stands. So the most likely inspiration they were going for was General Grievous, which isn't too far-fetched seeing how the series does have a number of references to Star Wars. Though, if I may make any comparison to a creature, it's almost like she's a scorpion, and we all know those have the reputation in Santa Destroy. However, I think a more appropriate comparison would obviously be a spider. Not even just for the multiple appendages, but all because of this one picture here. It's concept art of Alice before her final design, and what I love about it is the connection to her family in a way. The outfit is a fancy style widow's dress, which goes back to the question of what happened to her family. Earlier I said, take your pick, but now it's a high possibility they're gone. And to add more tidbits to the spider motif, with her final design, she has a skull on her top. Skull, spiders, widow, mix all that and you get a black widow. And that idea is pushed further right before you meet Alice. When you see all those pop-up pictures that flood the screen as a unique loading screen, her screen is adorned with spiders, and whatever the hell this thing is, and a figure of Ashura, primarily a reference to her many arms and weapons name. The myth generally states that the path of an Ashura is that of constant carnage and anger, and that does connect back to how she was described by Sylvia. That's covering the basics of Ashura, because going super in-depth about it gets a bit complicated for my liking, I'd say, along with the information that probably wouldn't even fit the theme. Oh yeah, speaking of theme, Alice's battle track is one of my favorites in the whole series. The drums and bass are being played at an exquisite level. It's just lovely. It's called Sabuta 1. Going off of the title alone, I like how it's specifically given 1 in the title, while it's the second Sabuta you hear. The first was played during Matt Helms and Ryuji's fight, and I see it as Alice picturing herself being number 1 after this battle, but most likely is aware of the outcome. Now, what does Sabuta mean? Sweet and sour pork? Huh. You know, I don't really think I can make a connection here at the top of my head. I mean, I could try, because Look, I gotta be truthful. Some of the track names don't make a lot of sense in No More Heroes. For example, in the first game, the theme for the #1 ranked assassin is titled Rocket Surgeon. And for those who know, it's like, why? I'm not hating or anything. It's genuinely one of my favorite tracks in the whole series, but why? For Alice's level, there is a specific theme that does play as you mow down all the thugs throughout the alleyways. It's called Toothpaste. Now, at first, I had no freaking idea what that meant. Though, from reading some YouTube comments of all things, what a lot of people like to think that they were going for was the bitter taste that not only Travis has by the end of this, but you, the player, as well. Toothpaste doesn't taste all that good, as you know, and from spending, oh my god, what, seems like an endless amount of time cutting dudes apart, you want something fresh and new, and that's what Alice provides, and it is sweet, but also sour. That sour flavor comes swinging back once the fight is over. And as per usual for most of the battles in No More Heroes, death is the deciding factor. Alice knew what she was getting into, and with her final words, she says this.
You are incredible. Everything I hoped for.
Tell me your name.
Promise me you won't forget. There once was an assassin named Alice.
I won't forget. Alice.
What's interesting about that line is how she specifically says an assassin named Alice. Not a person, woman, or the one, but assassin. Which truly solidifies how she was a killer from the start to the end. And this is one of the few fights that upsets Travis. The splash of blood reminds and awakens him that the people that he cuts down are still people. Crazy for sure, but still human. Now, admittedly, it's not on the level of Metal Gear Rising with a similar scene where the characters are awakened and they realize that, oh yeah, cutting down people kinda hurts, and they probably had a life before all this. Oops. Okay, now that I say that, that's 2 Metal Gear Rising comparisons I've made, so I probably need to stop. That's my bad. The conclusion of this fight infuriates Travis to make a stand against the UAA and put an end to it. You know that. Rushing to face off against a dude in a suit who can super punch you. You know, kind of like Senator Armstrong. Fuck! Seriously though, he doesn't. Travis beats Jasper. Thank fucking God. And the UAA is no longer a thing in Strikes Again or 3. Going back to Alice though, what I love about her is that she's easily the best part of No More Heroes 2. Because without getting super in-depth about everything, I'm gonna be completely honest, 2 is nothing but peaks and valleys. Easy example would be, oh cool, Destroy Man is back. What a really kick-ass and funny scene with him, Shinobu, and him again. Great cutscene. Too bad the boss fight itself is okay at best, sucks at worst. Despite the legion of enemies you slaughter as you make your way to Alice, she feels like the best thing I love about No More Heroes. Weird people having interesting yet colorful conversations about what they think. Be it food, your past, reason to fight, culminating in a death battle to see whose thirst for violence and way of life is stronger. And surprisingly, the wrestling weeaboo always comes out on top. Alice is one of the few assassins who does all of that in a game that doesn't have enough of it. Because of that, she's already stuck out, and everything I've gone over, her beautiful character design, the meaning behind all of it, the inside information and interpretation of her backstory, the natural style of her conversation with Travis, and then a boss fight that doesn't suck a dick with teeth, Alice is the best of No More Heroes 2, and she got her final request fulfilled, and that was to not forget her. I know I never could, and never will. Thank you for watching. I like to also thank all the different videos, sites, blogs, and comments that I found that helped me put all the pieces together for this video, especially those YouTube comments about Toothpaste, which is really freaking funny. So yeah, that's Alice Twilight and why she's just the best that there could be within No More Heroes. Is she my absolute favorite boss? There are a couple of that rank above her and everything of the sort, but she is absolutely, without a doubt, my favorite in the second game. That is for sure. I truly do wish, like a lot of other people, wish the game just kind of ended there. Definitely kind of would have, you know, hit a true meaning and everything about revenge being pointless, and I think that would have been a cool meta way and everything. I've heard that it probably would have been the final boss to begin with, but hey, what do I know? Rumors are rumors. and I don't necessarily feel like fact-checking them, and, yeah, I think that's about it. But yeah, you know how this usually goes by the end of this for the 2 people who stick around by the end. Hello. So yeah, thank you for watching. Maybe I'll do that Travis video. Who knows what I'll do next, but yeah. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. You know what to do with all the links that I provide and everything sort. Thank you for watching. That's greatly appreciated, of course. Have a great day, have a great night, and everything else. You know what to do.